Hey YouTube, how you doing? Biggie here, how's everything? Welcome to another movie review. Today's movie review is a movie I definitely, without a doubt, enjoy. This movie's so hilarious, it's funny. It's one of my favorite films of the 90s, comedy films of the 90s, alongside Wayne's World. You're probably familiar with the one I'm about to review. It's called Dumb and Dumber. Yep, Dumb and Dumber was released in late 1994 and is directed by Peter Farrelly or whatever. Peter Farrelly or what, who co-wrote the screenplay of the movie with his brother Bobby and Bennett Yellin. The Farrelly brothers were also known for their working on other films like Me, Myself, and Irene, which also starred Jim Carrey. Shallow Hal, and There's Something About Mary, and the 2007 remake film The Heartbreak Kid with Ben Stiller. And I enjoyed all those movies too. And I really love Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. The plot of this film is two imbecile friends, Lloyd Christmas, played by Jim Carrey, and Harry Dunn, played by Jeff Daniels. They stumble across a suitcase full of money left behind in Lloyd's limo. Lloyd's a limo driver, before him he got fired, and he was a limo driver, and Harry was a dog groomer and a dog driving a modified dog van, and when there was a suitcase full of money left behind, a woman who fell in love with named Mary Swanson. She's played by Lauren Holly, and she was on her way to Aspen, Colorado. And Lloyd and Harry, they decide to go on a trip and give her back the briefcase and everything. That's why Lloyd got fired from his job, and he didn't know what the briefcase, that briefcase was a ransom that connected to the kidnapping of her husband named Bobby. Yeah, and Harry got fired from his job too, from the dog groomer event, and they were hoping eventually they save up to open up a little worm store, pet worm, like a pet store, and they're going to name it I Got Worms. Yeah. But then Harry and Lloyd, they decided to go to Aspen and give Mary back the briefcase. Yeah, and get this, they travel across the country in their modified dog van, which was called in the film in 84 Sheepdog. And the van was actually a Ford Econoline. I Googled it online and it said it was a Ford Econoline van. I one time thought it was a Dodge Ram. I definitely knew it wasn't a Chevy or GMC G Series Express van, but yeah. So yeah, and like the scene where they end up with a truck driver named Seabass and everything, and those scenes were funny, like the restaurant thing, and when Harry spilt threw a salt shaker behind him, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then eventually Lloyd meets Seabass at a convenience store bathroom, and he opens the door and he's like, "Oh man, you gotta be kidding me!" And find a happy place, find a happy place. He's like, "I'll show you a happy place." And while he's up against that wall, he's going like, "That was so fun." Yeah, but then eventually, yeah, but then they're on their way to Aspen, and then they eventually Lloyd drives the wrong way in the dog van. They run out of gas, and then they found out they used up majority of their travel funds, and they accidentally that yeah, and Lloyd eventually, while Harry said he was going to walk home and they try to part ways, Lloyd traded the van in for a little mini bike, a gas powered bike, one of those tiny bikes, and he said he could get 70 miles to the gallon. Then they decided to go to Aspen, and eventually, that's when they discovered eventually they found out the briefcase, they had money in it, and they get a hotel room and they spend it like on crazy, even a Ferrari. And then eventually Lloyd points out Mary to Harry when they're at a little thing, a benefit, and they both fell in love with Mary, and Harry gets to do a bunch of activities with Mary, like skiing and making a snowman. And then Lloyd in the scene, get this, Mary invites Harry to her house, and Lloyd puts turbo like laxative in his drink. It's turbo, and it said instant relief from constipation, and he puts in Harry drinks it, shoves it down, and then as Harry's on her way to Mary's, his stomach was growling, but then he gets there, and then she invites him in the house, and then he makes it to the bathroom. I love this scene. Right? She makes it to the yeah, and he's like his stomach's like growling, and then he goes into the bathroom and he's like, oh, and it's like you can hear it going like and then Mary's asked if Harry, knocked on the door, asked Harry if he was in there. He's like, be right out. And she said, I hope you're not using the toilet, it's broken. What? The toilet don't flush. And he's like, I was shaving. And then eventually he's trying to like fix the toilet. He's like, come on, flush, you bastard. He tried this, that, nothing worked, so he just disabled the toilet and just threw it out the window. And that's when Lloyd gets on his bike and eventually and goes on his way to Mary's, and then he's like, yeah. Oh, and the scene where when Mary is and a housekeeper watching a current affair, and they're like when Billy, played by Brady Bluhm, the young blind kid in a wheelchair, he bought a dead parakeet from Lloyd and Harry, and he thought it was real quiet. When Mary saw that, and she was like, who are these sick people? And every time I watch that scene, I'm like, Harry and Lloyd. Yeah. Bought it. Yeah, and Billy going like, pretty bird, can you say pretty bird? Yeah, and that's when Lloyd came to her door and everything, and told her he had her briefcase, and they go to the hotel, and shows it to her, and she was so happy. She gave Lloyd a kiss, and then while they were in the hotel room, a friend of Mary's family, Nicholas Andre, played by Charles Rocket, from like the Halloween 1993 Disney film Hocus Pocus, and may he rest in peace too. He came to the room and he pulls a gun and confronts Lloyd and tells him that he was the owner of that briefcase Lloyd and Harry were carrying around. And Nicholas, he had a henchman named Shaye, played by Karen Duffy, and she was one of Nicholas' henchmen, and Nicholas had another henchman named Joe Mental, the mental guy, Mentalino, a.k.a. played by Mike Starr. But then eventually he got poisoned in the middle of the movie. He was having a heart attack, and Harry gave him the wrong pills, and they gave him the rat poison that Mentalino was going to give him to try to kill them with. Anyway, Nicholas was pointing a gun at Lloyd and Mary, and he told Mary to open the briefcase, and he did. and he found out all the money was gone. Lloyd said it was IOUs and everything, and especially an IOU for a Ferrari that Harry was driving that was $275,000. But then Harry walks into the door, and then he pulls a gun on Harry and tells him to stay. And yeah, but and then eventually Harry and Lloyd argue over Mary, and then Nicholas pointing the gun. He's like, "Shut up!" And then, now which one of you? And then Lloyd tells Nick to kill Harry. Nicholas kill Harry. He just goes, shoots Harry dead, and then eventually Harry was still alive. And then that's when the FBI came barging in the hotel, and they told Harry and Lloyd that the FBI was following them from their home in Providence, Rhode Island. And Harry was wearing a bulletproof vest when Nicholas shot him, and the FBI agent was the one Harry was talking to at the gas station when they were filling up, and she said she was on her way to Aspen. That's when he knew she was with the FBI, and now she was also the one Lloyd was talking to in the bar. And Shaye and Nicholas were arrested, and then Mary's husband, Bobby was his name, he was recovered and brought home safely by the police, and thanked Harry and Lloyd for what they did. And he said he owed them a debt of gratitude. And then Lloyd and Harry walk home from Aspen on their little mini bike broken down. After their mini bike broke down, they eventually find a bus with a bunch of women, bikini babes, on a national tour, and they ignorantly reject an offer to be their oil boys. And Harry tells Lloyd they'll get a break one day, and then they play a game of tag on their way back to Rhode Island and everything. Yeah. And yeah, I really love this movie. This movie's so funny, without a doubt. I mean, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels did a pretty good job, and this is the unrated edition Dumb and Dumber DVD. And I also have another Dumb and Dumber DVD. I have this one I found in 2019 at Walmart. This is the unrated version, not rated version. I have this. It has the original PG-13 version of it too, and this one has the Dumb and Dumberer When Harry Met Lloyd prequel, which was released in 2003. I'm going to review this probably soon, and because I'm going to review the Dumb and Dumber 2 released in 2014 as well, and I call it Dumb and Dumber 2 like that because it don't have the Roman numerals 2 or the number 2, just T-O. Yeah, and I love this picture on this version, the back of Lloyd giving Harry a wedgie right there. I love it so funny. Yeah, the movie itself is so funny. It's hilarious. It's one of my favorite 90s comedies alongside like Wayne's World and Tommy Boy and everything. And this movie has a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has a 7.3 out of a 10 on IMDb. And it had a budget of $17 million, and it scored $247.3 million at the box office. So, like I said, this is a great movie, and yeah, and what I mentioned, the actors were pretty good. I even I loved the sea bass scene. Even the scene I really didn't like was when the mental guy and Shaye broke into Lloyd and Harry's apartment. They cut Petey's head off, and that's when they didn't know Lloyd and Harry didn't know that somebody broke into their apartment and cut his head off, and that Lloyd sold the tape that Petey's head back on, sold it to Billy and 4C, the blind kid, like I said, played by Brady Bluhm or Bloom, whatever his name is. And yeah, and they're like, Harry's like, "You sold my dead bird to a blind kid? He didn't even have a head." He's like, "Harry, I took care of it." Yeah, and when my father was alive, we watched that scene. They show that he taped the head back on. My father went like this. He went like, stupid. I do give this movie, though, a lot of it's so funny. You'll laugh your A off. You'll laugh your head off and A ass off. Yeah. And movies like this, they show you there's no shortage of crazies in this world. Movies like Dumb and Dumber and movies like Jackass. But I even like Jackass as well. And yeah, so I think, in my opinion, like I said, it has a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 41% on Metacritic, 7.3 out of a 10 on IMDb, and 85% of Google users like this film. It's a classic film. I like it. It's just so funny. You know? I even love the design of the dog van in that film. So, all right, YouTube, nice seeing you. Take it easy, be safe, and stay out of trouble. Peace.